I was never able to buy 2 pair of Nikes, 2 cell phones, 2 this, you know.
You didn't buy anything.
Well, okay. So now I get punished because I'm not money worthy, to keep them happy. Keep them happy. I'm cooking them dinner every day. I'm making sure they come home and do their homework, but that's not good enough.
Now, granted, have I been with all 3 of these men? Yes. How do you know there's only these 3 men? Because I gave them these 3 men name. This is my truth. Here it is. It's ugly. Now I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Exactly.
None of us would be here. None of us had multiple sex partners, bro. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. How many sins you got, bro? We're here for hours.
Imagine finding out you might have a second dad after 30 years. Bananas, right? Ms. Miller drags Mr. White to court to prove he isn't her dad, while Mr. Wright waits in the hallway. Get ready. This is a real-life soap opera.
Ms. Miller, you've summoned the defendant, Mr. White. Prove to him that he is not your biological father, even though he has believed he's your father your entire life. The man you now say is your father is waiting in the hallway. Mr. White, it was only 2 weeks ago that your daughter revealed to you that you may not be her father.
Ms. Miller's mom once casually admitted, "I don't know who your dad is," and she's been juggling 2 dads ever since. Instead of choosing, Ms. Miller called both dad. Spoiler, this wasn't gonna stay secret forever.
I was raised around both men, but mainly around Mr. Wright. I spent most time with Mr. Wright. I used to go over to his house twice out the month, and I hardly spent any time with Mr. White. Up until the age of me being a teenager, I called both of them dad. My mom, her back was turned to me, and she said, "I don't know who your dad is."
2 weeks ago, Ms. Miller dropped the truth bomb on both dads. It took guts, considering neither had a clue about the other. Their reaction? Let's just say, it gets real awkward from here.
What happened 2 weeks ago?
Like I said before, I felt selfish because I didn't tell. I had to build up the nerve to actually call them. I addressed both of them. "Hey, Dad." Took a deep breath and I was like, "I want you to prove that you're my dad." And I asked him again, I was like, I really want to know because I don't know. And then I said, my mom told me that she doesn't really know who my father is.
Mr. White isn't thrilled to find out there's another dad in the mix. He's like, "Excuse me, 30 years and now this?" He's mad, sad, and totally thrown off. But he's about to meet his competition.
Mr. White, Ms. Miller's 30 years old. You weren't aware all of these years
Nope.
that she was calling another man dad as well?
Nope, I don't even know who he is. When I got that phone call, I was wondering, where would you get this from out of 30 years? If she can find out that I'm not her father out of 30 years, somebody could have told me.
Growing up, Ms. Miller's mom made sure the dads never met. It was exhausting. One visit here, one there, and no mentioning either. As a kid, Ms. Miller just rolled with it, but secrets like this take their toll.
I go over here, I don't mention this dad. I go over there, I don't mention
And
this
you knew
dad.
that as a child?
Yes, it was unwritten. It's like a habit you pick up. Like once you see, I saw my mom talking to one, you were forbidden to say the other's name. So what I did as a child was just picked up on what I saw.
Father's Day must have been awkward with 2 dads. Ms. Miller spent more time with Mr. Wright and didn't even have Mr. White's number. Now she feels bad, but back then, she couldn't handle the drama.
Well, on Father's Day, I never really had Mr. White's number like that. I didn't call him all the time, and he never had my number. I do want to apologize to Mr. White because I knew exactly where he was for so long. I just kept telling myself, Mr. Wright is my father. I hid from it.
Yeah, Mr. Wright walks in looking like he's about to hear the plot twist of his life. He learns there's another dad, keeps his cool, for now. He's called Ms. Miller his girl since she was a baby.
You do realize at this point, Mr. Wright, that Mr. White, he is Ms. Miller's biological father.
I'm her father. I've been in her life for 30 years.
See, that's the thing. I feel like I've been living a double life because I don't even have social sites now. Because if I do family barbecues, which I spend a lot of time with Mr. Wright's side of the family.
This part is like that Spider-Man meme. Everyone's pointing and saying, "Wait, she looks like you." Photos come out, but Judge Lake says science will decide, as we all wait for the DNA reveal.
This is a photo of Ms. Miller
Yes, ma'am.
and your mother. You see the resemblance too, Ms.
Yes,
Miller.
Your
you
Honor,
do.
everything. I see it all.
When you look at that, Mr. White, do you see a resemblance?
Yeah, I do.
Because you said you also feel like you look like Mr. White.
Oh, wow, I never seen it side by side like that.
Both dads brace for the DNA results.
It has been determined by this court. Ms. Miller's biological father is Mr. White.
Buckle up, this story is already wild. Ms. Ames grew up thinking one guy was her dad, but another just showed up saying, nope, I'm the real one. Mr. Garcia wants a DNA test, while Mr. Patine says, I paid $40,000 raising her, so hold up.
Mr. Garcia, you say you searched for your daughter for more than 25 years. You say the DNA results will prove to Mr. Patton that Ms. Ames is your daughter. You state that after raising your daughter and paying more than $40,000 in child support, you were informed that Mr. Garcia was claiming Ms. Ames is his daughter.
Facebook brings back old high school friends and surprise long-lost dads. Mr. Garcia found Ms. Ames online, and they met up, leaving her wondering if this was her real dad. But wait, there's more. We're about to dig into some family secrets.
And a year ago, I was in Jersey visiting my family, and I was really looking for her on Facebook, wanting to find her so we can reconnect. Because I always called and always asked about her, and I was really looking for her heavy. We found each other on Facebook last year, and we met at my mother's house and reunited, and we started talking from there.
Ms. Ames didn't know she might have another dad until she was 21. Her mom never mentioned it before she passed, and a random relative just casually dropped the bomb later. She finally found Mr. Garcia after seeing his picture online and thinking, whoa, I totally look like this guy.
Like, I needed some resolution to it. Take you back. My mother died when I was 13 years old. When I was 21 years old, another relative of mine decided to tell me, well, there's a possibility that your dad isn't your dad, that another man is your father. The name that they gave me, I searched for years. I couldn't find him.
When they met, it was emotional but awkward, kind of like a viral reunion video. They even visited her mom's grave together, which was both sweet and sad. Mr. Garcia stayed longer just to meet her daughter, and then things got even more intense.
There was an instant connection between the two of us. Instantly, we went out to my mother's graveyard because he didn't know anything of my mother passing because he was so far away. He was supposed to go back to Florida. He stayed an extra 2 weeks because he wanted to meet my daughter. I'm torn. I have 2 kids, and I want my kids to know who their grandparents are.
Plot twist. Mr. Patton isn't stepping aside easily. He's like, I was there since day one, rocked this kid to sleep, and paid $40,000 in child support. Even the judge was impressed, but Mr. Garcia is just getting started.
You feel like you're 100% certain you're her father.
Yes, I was there for her at birth. When she was born, I used to rock her to sleep in my knees. I stayed with her family. I stayed with them for like 10 years, working and taking care of my responsibility, which was her.
You were responsible for child support for how many years?
18.
18 years you paid it?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia's determination is honestly impressive. He spent years searching for Ms. Ames, even before Facebook made it easy. His sister helped him track her down, and now Ms. Ames is opening up about how she feels about both dads.
Your Honor, before social media, when I would call New Jersey and talk to my family, I always trying to find her. So it's not just started. I always had that passion that she was my daughter, to know that for sure myself. Because I was in New Jersey and I went find her while I was there before I went back to Florida. So I wanted to make sure we made a connection. And I was on Facebook heavy, trying to make connection with her.
Things are getting complicated. Ms. Ames feels like both men are her dad. She's building a bond with Mr. Garcia, but also appreciates everything Mr. Patine did for her. Plus, she's like, I need answers. I don't want my kids accidentally dating their cousins.
They're both my dad, but I'll work on building a relationship with Mr. Garcia because if he is my dad, we need that relationship. My kids need that relationship, but my kids will always know Mr. Patton as their grandpa as well. It's the way it'll be, period.
Ms. Ames isn't holding back. My parents should have sorted this 30 years ago. She wants answers for her kid's sake, and the judge totally agrees. But now, it's the big moment. The DNA results are in.
I feel like I'm torn in between because deep down inside, I need to know. I need the answers, and I can't speculate on what my parents did. This is something they should have figured out 30 years ago.
You are most certainly correct.
I can't say what they did and what they didn't do because I was a child.
The courtroom goes dead quiet as the results come in.
It has been determined by this court. Her biological father is Mr. Garcia.
Miss Curtis drags her mom, Miss Hall, to court because she's been lied to for 14 years about her dad. Turns out her mom let her believe some other guy was her dad, even though he wasn't. Oh, and there's a mystery dude outside who might be her real dad. This is already a mess.
Miss Curtis, you have brought your mother, Miss Hall, to court today because you say she hid the identity of your father from you for 14 years. There's a man waiting outside of the courtroom that your mother believes could be your biological father, yet you still have no idea that that's the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Grandma spills the family secret when Miss Curtis was 14, revealing the guy she thought was her dad wasn't. Miss Curtis had to keep it quiet until her mom confessed. She always felt out of place, like she was adopted or something.
My grandmother, she sat me down and she said that she wanted to tell me the truth about who my father really is to be, and that my mother has been lying to me for the past years of my life, which was time was 14 years old. And I said, okay. I felt that it was the truth because I always felt like I was adopted. My father, he really never really showed me the affection, the love at all.
Mom's story is like a teenage soap opera. She got pregnant at 15, thought the dad was some guy named Kirk, but then started seeing someone else. She admits she didn't know what was happening with her body. Like, she thought she wasn't pregnant because she got her period once. Total chaos.
I did not tell my daughter a young age about who her father was. Simply one, because I was a young girl. I was pregnant at the age of 15. I gave birth to her when I was 16 years old. Kirk lived pretty much like a fast lifestyle, which attract to him. And being young, I didn't even know that I was pregnant because I didn't know anything about the body.
You didn't know what it meant? You were just so young?
Yes.
Miss Curtis confronts her mom, asking why she waited until she was 16 to come clean. Miss Hall says she was focused on being a good mom, but Miss Curtis isn't buying it. She talks about missing moments like father-daughter dances, and she's clearly hurt.
I knew one day that I would have to sit up real down and talk to her and let her know who her father is. The time that I set forth for her was at the age of 16.
But what if something was supposed to happen to me in between the time?
I was the mother. I was the one who took care of you. To me, because I was the mother, I was the one that was supporting you, keeping a roof over your head, and making sure that you went to school and you got the education that you needed.
Miss Curtis hears about Mr. Whitaker from family gossip and writes to him in prison. Her mom didn't want to send the letter, but someone else did. Mr. Whitaker writes back, and his letter changes everything. The judge reads it, and it's a big deal.
The same night that me and my nana, we had the discussion and we found out where he was, then I started to write him letters and everything.
Where he was in prison, I wrote a letter to Kirk in the prison, telling him the things that was going on. I was kind of nervous after I got to writing the letter, so I took the letter and I hid it at my mother's house.
Mr. Whitaker says he's ready to be the dad Miss Curtis deserves. Miss Hall looks awkward because this blows her plan. She's mad that things aren't on her terms. Come on, it's never perfect timing.
This is the first time she'll ever see the letter.
He does state he's willing to be the father she needs and deserves, and it's signed Kirk.
I know you may not understand how I feel about this right here. That's where I feel like I was deceived and crossed. I had my time that I had set aside to do the right thing.
She wants me to be like, I'm the bad person regardless.
Mr. Whitaker isn't sure he's the dad because Miss Hall was seeing someone else back then. Plus, he says he was living a fast lifestyle. Lots of money, lots of women, no clue what was happening. His doubts are understandable, but Miss Curtis is frustrated.
I'm actually somewhat doubtful, and having said that is because the way the situation went down. When Tamika initially told me, hey, I'm pregnant, you're the father. But as I remember, she was also in a relationship with someone else. That was actually convenient for me, being that I was with somebody. I'll take my part, hey.
Miss Curtis says Mr. Whitaker let her down after all his promises while he was in prison. When he got out, he spent time with her mom instead of her. She feels abandoned, and now it's all leading up to the DNA results.
He wanted to know little things about me so he can get to know me through the letters. Promised me when he come home, he'll do things for me that he's never done. When he got home, he didn't do none of that, and he still haven't done none of that. I was trying to help him get out of the halfway house so he can come home and spend time with me. He want to break everything that he said, spend less time with me so he can be with her.
Mr. Whitaker points out Miss Curtis was given another guy's last name, which confuses him. Why not my name if I'm the dad? Fair point, but the DNA test is about to end this mystery.
Do you believe this is your daughter?
I believe it could be my daughter. How can I say when she was messing with other men and you give someone else another man's name?
I think it's time we have the results.
The judge reads the DNA results.
When it comes to 22-year-old Abril Curtis, Mr. Whitaker, you are her father.
The Eggleston twins are here because their dad just dropped a bombshell. He's not their biological father. He claims he's doing this for financial reasons, and the sisters aren't buying it. Buckle up, because the drama is just getting started.
You and your identical twin sister state that the man who raised you recently shocked you when he announced that he is not your biological father. You've petitioned the court for a paternity test because you believe finances are motivating your alleged father's claims. Your statement to the court counters that you know for sure the plaintiff's father is a white man and you are not.
Mr. Eggleston admits he always doubted he was their dad because of some shady stuff their mom did. But he chose to raise them anyway, kinda. His story is confusing, but hang tight. It's only going to get weirder.
Knowing from the start, I knew they wasn't mine, but something overcame me that...
You knew their mother?
Yes, I did. I was coming home one day and she was in the backyard barbecuing, and I noticed this big, beautiful smile, big breasts. And,
notice those, huh?
Yeah, and the big cheeseburgers on the grill.
The twins say Mr. Eggleston didn't really act like a dad. No new shoes, no structure, no allowance. After their mom died, they think he only took them in for money. It's rough, and you can't help but wonder if anyone's okay.
I was never able to buy 2 pair of Nikes, 2 cell phones, 2 this, 2 this,
You didn't buy anything.
Okay, okay. So now I get punished because I'm not money worthy, to keep them happy. Keep them happy. If I cherish them with money, it'd be a whole new different ballgame. Cooking them dinner every day. I'm making sure they come home, do their homework, but that's not good enough.
A cousin shows up, claiming their mom had a sugar daddy, a white guy who might be the twins' real dad. It's just more chaos on top of chaos. And at this point, you're wondering if there's any end to this drama.
But he's talking about a white man that actually, I don't know how to word it, but I want to say he was like her job. He didn't care if she was pregnant. He would have sent her money just because that's what they do. That was his purpose of being there. She didn't just call one. He sent money often. Exactly. Before she got pregnant, he was sending money.
The twins share how Mr. Eggleston's doubts made them feel like he didn't belong. They even found his secret journal about not knowing if he was their dad, but deciding to stick around. It's a mix of laughter and tears, and things are getting heavy.
We found a journal of his, and basically, I understand that this is something that he been fighting with himself, and it's starting to hit him, so it's like...
So then that makes us figure, okay, then now we understand why you treated us like we was always
it's something that he from. He was in detail saying they came out and I seen them. So something came over my body saying, I'm gonna be in these kids' life. They're gonna need me one day.
The judge reads the DNA results, and guess what?
When it comes to whether Mr. Rodney Eggleston is the father of Antonia and Rodnea Eggleston, Mr. Eggleston, you are their father.
This starts like a soap opera on fast forward. Mr. Rich is mad, yelling about lies, and Ms. Holman is trying to defend herself while Judge Lake tries to keep order. It's already super dramatic, but trust me, this is just the warm-up.
Mr. Rich,
Go back up.
you came here to get an answer.
I have not called him lately.
I don't care, man. That was a nice speech, but that's all it was, a speech. Stop. If Leanne could have had it her way, and now one of us know.
At the end of the day, you a liar. I've been telling you this since I was pregnant. I've been telling you I need a DNA test since I was pregnant.
Judge Lake talks to Ms. Holman like a tough but caring aunt, calling out her mistakes while reminding her she can do better. The vibe gets serious fast, and you can tell Ms. Holman is feeling it. But don't get too relaxed. Things are about to get messy again.
You've admitted to where you've gone wrong, and you've also allowed us to see a little piece of what your real heart is. You think we don't know you are confused and just out there riding on a wing and a prayer? I'm here with you and for you.
Just when it seems like things might calm down, Ms. Holman drops the bomb that there are other possible dads. Mr. Matthews enters, and it's like a reality show reunion with side-eye galore. If one dad wasn't enough drama, now we've got a whole crew.
Can you tell me about these other possible fathers?
Well, just like with Mr. Rich, I told him I didn't remember whether we were together around the time of September, which was around his birthday time. Mr. Matthews is the same thing. The only difference with this is Mr. Rich knew about him. Mr. Rich did not know about Matthews.
Mr. Matthews shows up cool and admits he could be the dad, casually mentioning he went to doctor appointments with Ms. Holman. This makes the other guys mad. It's got "I was there for her" vibes, but Mr. Matthews seems unsure himself. The drama is real, and it's only getting juicier.
You've had an ongoing sexual relationship with Ms. Holman for the past 4 years?
Yes, ma'am. And I was taking her to a couple of her doctor's appointment for the baby.
Do you want to be her biological father?
I mean, if I am, I'll accept it as my own, because I don't think our friendship will never end.
So you also are in love with Ms. Holman?
To a certain extent, yeah.
Ms. Holman admits she was with all 3 guys, and it's awkward but honest. Judge Lake appreciates her honesty, but you can see the guys are furious. The tension is thick, but you know the real bombshell is coming with the DNA results.
Now, granted, have I been with all 3 of these men? Yes. How do you know there's only these 3 men? Because I gave them these 3 men names. This is my truth. Here it is. It's ugly. Now I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Exactly.
None of them would be here if you were sure.
None of us would be here. None of us had multiple sex partners, bro. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. How many sins you got, bro? We're here for hours.
Judge Lake gives Ms. Holman a pep talk, telling her she's still worth it, despite her mistakes. It's wholesome and a bit like a motivational video. Then you remember, the DNA results are next, and it's about to get intense.
Every day we wake up and we have to remind ourselves, you worth it. I slept with this guy on Thursday, you still worth it. I slept with this guy on Friday, you still worth it. I came up short over here, you're still worth it. You hear me?
Finally, the DNA answers come.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Drumgold, you are the father.
Exactly.
This is straight up bananas. Imagine finding out at 10 years old that your dad isn't actually your dad. That's exactly what happened to Ms. Manship, who then spent 20 years trying to track down her real father.
Ms. Manship, at the age of 10, you were shocked and devastated to learn that your dad was not your biological father. That began your 20-year search to find the man your mother claims is your father. After your exhaustive search, find him, you came up with nothing.
Can you even imagine looking for someone with nothing but a name and one old photo? That's exactly what Ms. Manship did after her mom told her who her real dad was, armed with just that tiny bit of info.
She sat me down. She had one picture. This is the one picture that she gave me that I've had for the past 20 years. I just look at it. She says, this is who your father is. He was the only other person I was with. He's the only one that it could be. We had a place where we hung out when we were younger, and I would stop a police officer and I'd say, how do you go about searching for somebody?
She hit up old school Yahoo chat rooms. Yep, back in the day, people searches, and even asked random people in Arkansas if they knew her dad. She was basically a one-woman detective agency, but with zero luck, making you wonder if this mystery would ever get solved.
I would go do people searches online. Back whenever they had like the Yahoo chat rooms, the state that she told me he was from, which was Little Rock, Arkansas, I would go in there and I'd mention his name, say, does anybody know this man? I believe he is my father, and nobody ever had any information they could give me. We even went back to where
all you had to go on was this photo you
the
had
one picture and the one name.
Imagine sitting down one day and boom, someone tells you might have a kid you didn't even know about. Mind-blowing, right? That's what happened to Mr. Lau, who admitted he'd never heard of Ms. Manship until the court contacted him. The dude was totally blindsided and emotions were flying all over the place.
When is the first time you heard about her?
When the court contacted me just recently.
You never knew she existed.
No, Your Honor.
But you did have a relationship with Ms. Lutman.
Yes, Your Honor.
You remember that. This you in this photo.
Yes, Your Honor.
So we know we at least have the right Mr. Lau.
Ms. Manship tells him how hard she looked for him for decades. And honestly, you'd need tissues for this moment. You can't help but feel the suspense as everyone's bracing for how this roller coaster will end.
Since my early teens, I've searched everywhere. I've searched online, I've asked people, and I've never had a response from anybody in the past 20 years. Nobody has ever given me even a single detail of where he's from or where he lives, if he has any family. I don't know anything.
And you've never gotten one lead?
Not one.
Talk about drama. Turns out there was a wild love triangle back in the day, with jealous exes and even some property damage. Mr. Laup shares how he dated. Ms. Lutman moved in with her and had to deal with her angry ex-boyfriend burning his clothes in a fireplace.
Shortly after that, maybe after a couple of months, we had rented an apartment.
Were you boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes, Your Honor. And I believe she had she had told me she had 3 kids and that she was about 12 years older than I was, about her ex-boyfriend not being happy about it. We kept it amicable, and then at one point in time, I'm not sure how it happened, but he had burned all my clothes up in the fireplace.
Really?
Ms. Lutman then explains how she got back together with her ex, thought he was the baby's father, and basically just went along with it for years. It's messy, it's dramatic, and you can't look away as you wait to see if this chaos leads to the truth.
Me and my ex got back together. About a month later, I started getting symptoms of getting pregnant. And I was with my ex, so I figured it was my ex's baby. So we just handled it all the way up until I had her.
When you found out you were pregnant, you thought it was your ex's child?
I just figured it was my ex's because I'd be a month later, and be with him.
Okay, this guy thought he couldn't even have kids. He literally said he was shooting blanks. Mr. Laup explains how he's been married multiple times, never had kids, and didn't think he could possibly be anyone's dad.
Did you initially believe this could be your daughter?
I didn't believe it. I figured it probably was a mistake, mainly because the fact that she knew quite a few people. She had a lot of male friends and been married 4 times. First marriage was 12 years and I didn't have any children. second marriage was 2 years, still no children.
Meanwhile, Ms. Manship gets emotional, sharing how she believed so strongly that he was her dad that she even named her son after him. At this point, the suspense is through the roof, and you can practically hear everyone holding their breath for what's next.
I'm just hoping that everything I've been told is true, because if it is, I mean, I'm the only one out there he has. So I've believed that he's been my father so long that I actually named my youngest son after him.
You did?
I did.
This is the moment everyone's been waiting for. Drum roll, please.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lau, you are the father.